Pundits have long assumed that the Pittsburgh Steelers would add a wide receiver at the NFL trade deadline. League insiders have reported the team is pursuing a receiver on the trade market. Even after signing veteran Marquez Valdes-Scantling, a receiver trade for the Steelers makes sense. But the way 2025 has gone, Mike Tomlin's roster appears to have an even bigger need than receiver. That's what ESPN's Dan Graziano argued Tuesday morning. Graziano said on SportsCenter that the Steelers should make adding players to their defense an NFL trade deadline priority. "I don't think enough people realize how bad their defense has gotten," Graziano said, via Steelers Depot's Ross McCorkle. "Every time you put on a Steelers game, the talk that you hear is like, oh, well, of course the Steelers are known for great defense. I'm sitting here thinking this is not 1976. This is a group that got very old very fast. And this isn't like the 49ers where half of them are hurt. This is their group basically. One or two guys have missed some time, but this is what they have." Steelers defense significantly struggling near mid-season point. Graziano isn't wrong. The Steelers defense practically got old overnight. But the ESPN insider failed to mention that it was the organization's own doing. Pittsburgh's two biggest defensive additions this past offseason were cornerbacks Jalen Ramsey and Darius Slay. Both are at least 31 years old. Slay will turn 35 before the end of the regular season. After years of All-Pro and Pro Bowl level play, both Ramsey and Slay didn't make the Pro Bowl last season. Yet, the Steelers still acquired them to play major roles in 2025. Along the defensive line, Keanu Benton hasn't developed, and Derek Harmon is still a rookie. So, the Steelers are still counting on 36-year-old Cameron Hayward to be the team's best defensive lineman. At edge rusher, TJ Watt is either in a slump, dealing with an injury, or also feeling the effects of being 31 years old. Watt has 4 sacks through 7 games and hasn't posted the splash plays he often does. It all adds up to a defense that's not up to normal Steelers standards. But it's also not even average. Pittsburgh is 22nd in points allowed and 30th in yards yielded per game. Tomlin's defense is last in pass defense and 24th in third down conversions allowed. The unit's only saving grace this season has been takeaways and red zone defense. The two are related, as the Steelers have forced some turnovers in the red area. Without that, the Steelers would have a below .500 record. Could Steelers upgrade defense at 2025 NFL trade deadline? It's easy to diagnose Pittsburgh's defensive problems. However, it's much more difficult to fix. Unfortunately for Tomlin and Steelers Nation, it might not be fixable. That's what McCorkle argued in response to Graziano's claim the Steelers should acquire defensive players at the trade deadline. But due to such a small window at quarterback with Aaron Rodgers, the Steelers probably can't afford to just punt on the season. The team might only have this year to try and go on a run with Rodgers. Trading future assets for more defensive veterans is going to combat Tomlin's current problem. But the Steelers don't appear to have a choice if they want to win the AFC North for the first time since 2020. For most of Mike Tomlin's time as head coach, the Pittsburgh Steelers have hung their hat on the defensive side of the ball. That hasn't been the case this season. Nevertheless, they still have one of the best pass rushers in the NFL in TJ Watt, and they're usually successful when they blitz. Jordan Love, however, didn't even blink in those situations as the Green Bay Packers quarterback led his team to a Week 8 victory. According to Pro Football Focus, Love had a 137.0 passer rating against the Steelers' blitz, with an 87.5% adjusted completion rate, 195 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, and no interceptions. Jordan Love was unfazed by the Steelers' blitz. Direct hit 87.5% adjusted completion rate. Direct hit 195 passing yards. Direct hit 2 TDs, 0 INTs. Direct hit 137.0 passer. Overall, Love threw for 360 yards with 3 touchdowns and no interceptions. Love has been a polarizing figure among fans for years. While his arm talent has always been evident, and he can make every throw in the book, his recklessness often led to mistakes and turnovers. But he's looked much more polished this season. He's going through his progressions, taking his time, and throwing the ball away when there's nothing there. He's not putting the ball in harm's way, and he's keeping everybody involved in the offense. The Packers are tied for the fewest losses in the NFL after their first 7 games. It hasn't been perfect, easy, or pretty at times. But with Love playing at an MVP caliber level, their chances are good against anybody. The Pittsburgh Steelers defense has given up nearly 1,000 yards and 68 points over their last 2 games. They currently rank 30th in total defense, 25th in defensive EPA per play, and 22nd in success rate. So, naturally, Mike Tomlin began his Tuesday press conference by blaming the offense for the Steelers' loss to the Green Bay Packers, saying that settling for field goals was a big problem and led to an inability to play clean. And while he's not wrong in that assessment, beginning the list of issues with the offense that scored 25 points and has averaged 28 points in the team's last 2 losses is everything wrong with Mike Tomlin in a nutshell. Rather than opening by blaming the obvious, the horrid defensive play, he blamed the unit that has kept the Steelers afloat. The unit that ranks 10th in the NFL in EPA per play and 11th in points. That's the big issue in the eyes of Mike Tomlin. When he was asked about the adjustments the Steelers' defense should make, Tomlin brushed it off. "We just gotta keep doing what we're doing and do it better," Tomlin said. When asked about Teryl Austin, he says he's pleased with his work. "I've largely been pleased with his work. But certainly, he and I are not pleased where we are." Hearing all of this after the defense squandered what should have been a win over the Bengals to get the Steelers to 5-1, and after that same defense surrendered 21 fourth-quarter points to the Packers, is why Pittsburgh will forever be in this purgatory as long as Tomlin is the guy in charge. The lack of innovation, the same nothing word salad press conferences that result in more questions than answers, the predictable defense that gets eaten alive by any semblance of a good offense. Something has to give at some point. But it won't. Whether you agree with me or not, we all agree that Tomlin isn't going anywhere. Not anytime soon, at least. This highlights the even larger issue at hand, which is that Art Rooney too is hampering the Steelers just as much as Tomlin by enabling this lack of frustration with mediocrity. Nothing changes if nothing changes, and the Pittsburgh Steelers are the patron saints of never changing anything, no matter how obvious it is that a